How awful.
Hello, Izzy. My
Hello,
favorite
Izzy,
friend.
my old friend. It was just your birthday again.
Did you guys wish Izzy, our HR representative, a happy birthday?
Now you're old, but you're not dying.
Okay.
You're just old and I am crying.
Beautiful
Yeah,
rendition.
thank you. Thank you.
It's Izzy's version.
Yes, Izzy's versions of the sound or the meow of silence.
But she's an assistant. Assistants don't meow. They assist. Remember?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's fine, I guess.
So I'm not sorry if you hear our assistant purring like a cat. It's a very bizarre thing she does. She does a very good cat purring impression.
Can't believe you bullied me into drinking.
I didn't bully you.
Mom, Tanya bullied me into drinking.
I literally said, I'm just going to pour myself a glass.
It was bullying.
And then you said, ugh, fine, and stood up and went to the bath. I thought you were standing up to go get a wine, but
tell me where in there it doesn't say clear bullying. I mean,
yeah,
she basically had my arm behind my back.
So earlier today, I left work really early because we're on like a little mini hiatus at work, which doesn't mean hiatus for me. It means I'm still working.
Yeah.
But so I left around like 6-ish, 6:30. Mm-hmm. And I texted B and I was like, all right, I'm heading home. And she was like, no, you're not. This isn't Tanya. No. Who is this?
It's fake. Fake news.
These are lies. So in order to prove that it was me, I said, remember when we were kids and I elbowed you in the face while we were asleep and it woke me up?
Yeah, that was a fun memory.
I elbowed you so hard in the face that it like woke me up. It was like I turned in my sleep and I elbowed her in the face.
I mean, she had sharp elbows straight to the mouth.
We were like 13, probably
13,
12.
14 years old. Yeah.
And at least we didn't have our headgear on.
You literally, oh my God, you would have sent that into my skull. It literally, like, in the second it took for her elbow to connect with my mouth, she shot up and was like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Do you guys remember headgear?
Yeah, we had that.
We both had.
We both had that. What up, overbites?
I was really glad that you had headgear before me.
Thanks.
So that you could give me advice.
Yeah.
On the process of wearing headgear.
I remember when you told me you had to wear headgear and I was like, I'm so sorry.
I was like weirdly excited.
Yeah, you were very weirdly excited about like anything to do with your braces. You're like, I have a task.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt important.
I don't know.
I'm a weird human being and I was an even weirder child. So are we surprised?
Yeah.
This is like tame.
Honestly, I'm surprised you still don't wear your retainer.
I don't even know where it is.
No.
I couldn't tell you. It's probably in the trash somewhere.
No. I wore it for like the first year, but I kept flicking it out with my tongue. So it was like, there's no way it wouldn't stay in my mouth.
I mean, I have like the permanent bottom retainer.
I had that until like a year or 2 years ago and it broke.
Mm-hmm. And you got it removed.
I just had them take it out.
Yeah.
Which my dentist was very upset about. I'm sure this is riveting for you guys.
Let's take a poll.
Who likes retainers?
Who's had headgear? Who's felt our pain?
Guys, we went out. Can we responsibly say that? That we went to a party?
We went to a party that was antibodies only.
Yeah. Vaxxed or had COVID and we had the antibodies.
Someone's assistant is having a meltdown in the hallways. I'm sorry if you hear them, but you might not.
And it was also outdoors, so that was responsible.
Outdoors, vaccinated only. It was very fun.
Yeah, we made friends.
Yep, we did.
We listened to live music. It was weird.
Yeah.
We got driven home by Big Tony.
That's a long story. That's a
very
story for
long
another
story.
time.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, we had fun. It was great. Yeah. Our friends, we have a lot of friends that are musically talented.
Yes. It's LA, guys. Everybody's talented.
They played a jam session outside in the backyard, and it was beautiful.
Sure
it was a great night.
That was us, guys. That's what we did.
That's what we did. That's what we've been up to. That's literally all we've been up to.
True.
I'm like super excited
about your topics. She's been talking about this for a while, so.
I have been talking about this with my coworkers since I started researching it, and people keep coming in and asking me what else I've discovered. You guys better strap in. Okay. This might be my new favorite episode of How Awful.
And we haven't even done it yet.
No, just because of this.
She speaks highly of herself.
So I am. Well, it's not me. It's like all
Grace.
That's a French thing. Grace. It also
Thanks
means
to,
like, thanks
yeah,
to,
yeah.
it's all thanks to the subject itself. The subject is just
Cool.
hands you interesting.
I have gotten comfortable. I've got my glass of wine I was bullied into.
So,
I'm ready.
B doesn't like alien stories.
Don't.
So I'm not necessarily telling you an alien story, but I'm telling you an alien adjacent story that is probably the most alien story you'll ever hear.
Alien adjacent, most alien. Gotcha.
We're in the desert, north of Las Vegas.
This is Area 51.
May 15th, 1989. An anonymous, shadowy figured man, going by the name Dennis, reached out to the media and became known as the whistleblower behind exposing, yes, Area 51.
Yes.
Revealing that the test site had been researching and testing 9 flying saucers found and delivered by the government because of espionage threats and threats against his life and that of his wife's. This so-called Dennis character had kept quiet until that date.
Shadow Dennis.
The news spread like wildfire all across the world and drummed up heated debates as to the existence of extraterrestrial life. Was this our first inkling of proof of life beyond planet Earth? So this is the first time anybody heard about Area 51.
Yeah.
It was not on anybody's radar.
Yeah.
Until...
Sorry. Kurt Novoselic is giving me the stink eye on your shirt.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Not Kurt, Chris.
Yes. I was like, who?
Chris.
I'm wearing a Nirvana shirt.
Kurt
for those that didn't catch that reference.
Sorry. And I also said Kurt when it's Chris.
Do you want me to zip up my hoodie?
No, he's just staring at me like he's got beef with me.
Well, he doesn't know you like that.
Fuck off, Chris.
He's on a t-shirt.
Dave's like, whatever. Okay, sorry.
Okay. So Dennis was soon revealed as a man named Robert Lazar, or as we know him, Mr. Bob Lazar.
Mr. Bob.
So this is who I'm covering. This is what I'm talking about today.
Is this the guy that was on the Kardashians?
Was he?
There was a man on the Kardashians.
There's no way.
Okay. Is he dead?
No, he's not dead. He's just, I don't think he would be caught dead on the Kardashians.
Well, I mean, you might not know who they are, but there was a man, because they went to Area 51 and they brought a man who, like, knew all, like, this stuff and claimed to have been abducted. And he came, okay, not him. Well, he came on the show because he was a really big fan of Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh.
At that time, Caitlyn was still male presenting and Bruce.
Right.
And she was horrible to him. Like, was making fun of him.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't believe anything he said. And it was, like, crushing this man to the point where, like, Khloe had to pull Caitlyn aside and be like, can you stop being a dick? He, like, idolizes you.
Oh, no.
And, like, Kendall was, like, in tears because she felt so bad.
That's so embarrassing.
That her dad was being, like, so horrible to this man who only showed up because he was, like, a mega Bruce Jenner fan.
Oh, my God. I don't know if I've ever said this on this podcast, but, like, something a relative of mine said to me who is in the public eye, said to me that for him, he can't have a bad day.
Right.
He's not allowed to have a bad day because if he's rude or unpleasant in any way and he's recognized in that moment, that will forever be that person's experience with him. And they'll say, oh, I met so-and-so and they were such an asshole.
Exactly.
Like, I've definitely had those experiences with celebrities and been like, I didn't like that person. They were not nice. I'm like, well, maybe they were just having a bad day. And I just
that's not your
judge them.
They're typically nicer and like, yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting, but it sounds like Caitlyn
is a piece of crap. We've seen her, so that seemed like she was being her true self.
Let me before I dive in, for those that know who Bob Lazar is, let's just say up front before I dive in, he has never ever claimed to have been abducted by aliens or has said anything really about aliens.
He just knows some shit about Area 51.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go in.
Got it.
Okay, so Bob was hired to work by the U.S. Navy at an area called S4. He's never actually called it Area 51. It was later revealed that S4 is a facility within Area 51, and it's a few miles south of Groom Lake. And he was hired to study flying saucers, antimatter reactors, and technology beyond human capabilities. Basically, he was hired to reverse technology the crafts that were discovered. So what that means is basically take them apart to see how they can rebuild them.
Oh, okay.
So the Pentagon wanted like physicists like Bob Lazar to come in and like recreate these crafts with the materials we have on Earth.
Got it.
He had applied to several national labs and interviewed with the government, who questioned him primarily on what his interests were outside of cars. Like, he was kind of known as the physician around town who had like put a jet on his Honda. Like,
Oh, okay.
he had like built, like, he was just like a really smart engineer, like really,
Right.
really good with machinery and all that stuff. So, yeah, like he told them that he had, yeah, this is what I actually wrote. He told them he had a particle accelerator and was into jet propulsions for fun. So he was just like really into that.
Nerd.
Yes, big nerd. And he was given approximately 121 briefings and called his level of clearance, quote unquote, majestic. Like, that's what they called his level of clearance, was categorized as majestic.
Like a unicorn?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, which I'd be surprised to find, Area 51 is a secret government branch within our government that retrieves and attempts to rebuild alien technology acquired from UFO crash sites, or like findings.
I didn't know that's what it was.
Really?
No, I just thought it was like a place where people, like a Bermuda Triangle of alien abductions.
Nope, it exists.
Oh, I know it exists, but I thought it was like where a lot of people have just been abducted. I didn't realize it was like,
no,
and that the government had like partitioned off and not allowed people near because they don't want people to know what's beyond that point. I didn't realize it was an actual branch of the government.
Oh, well, I'm going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so the building that he was working with, the S4 building, it had a roof that sort of slanted, and it appeared to be the same color and texture as the desert floor, so it kind of looked like sand.
Okay.
To disguise itself from aerial shots of any kind. Mm-hmm. So it like kind of blends into the nature. And if you've ever seen any aerial or overhead shots of Area 51, it does. It's just, you can't tell it's there. So it consisted of the 9 air hangars that were built into the side of a mountain, and each hangar had a craft that was being studied. Witnesses have reported sightings of bizarre aircrafts in the vicinity of the base, potentially being tested. I didn't put this in here, but I did read a little bit about the history of Area 51. It was originally built to study like spy crafts. Mm-hmm. So it has always kind of been a facility to study aircrafts in general.
Okay.
And there was like one aircraft that like came out like during World War II that was like really advanced technology, and they studied it, but it was like they were able to like replicate it with the technology they had here on Earth. It was like not like a spacecraft. It was like a Russian craft or something. I'm not really sure exactly. Mm-hmm. So don't quote me. This is not a official spewing of information. It's just stuff that
it's not hashtag facts.
Yeah, I just kind of retained it in my head a little bit. So when Bob was hired, they demonstrated 2 crafts for him. So he was a physicist, so like basically like a scientist.
Yeah.
And he was hired to only work on the propulsions of the craft. So every piece of the craft, there was a different person working, and they couldn't work in conjunction with the other people studying different aspects of the craft.
Okay.
Because they didn't want them to have too much information about the crafts. So there couldn't be like, you couldn't have a full idea of all of the capabilities of this craft. So his knowledge, before I dive into it, is solely based on the propulsion of the craft. Mm-hmm. So they demonstrated 2 crafts for him, one of which they intended to replicate the reactors without using this so-called element that's called element 115. And it's what the craft used essentially as fuel. So it's like gas essentially to power this craft.
Okay.
It's a synthetic chemical element, often referred to as the alien element. It was first penned by Bob Lazar, but has since been added to the periodic table by the Soviet Union in 2003 and was renamed Moscovium. So it's an actual element now. So he talked about it in 1989, and everybody's like, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then 2003, it was added to the periodic table as like an actual element. And that is what like blew my mind the most when I was reading this, because the nerd in me was just like, hold on. He discovered a new element that does not exist on Earth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So it's like, what else? What other elements are out there? Like we all know, like the elements are like oxygen, gas, hydrogen, carbon, all the things that make us exist. But scientists later introduced 113, 117, and 118, which are also considered alien elements. I don't know what they do, but there was more that were discovered. Interestingly, all of these 4 elements are super heavy, lab-made, and very radioactive. So they couldn't actually use element 115. So they tried to do it with like elements that were already available to us. And apparently in order to create element 115, like 1 gram of it is like millions of dollars to create. Jesus. So in order to create enough to like fuel a craft, it would just like bankrupt the government. So it's like, we can't.
It's already trillions of dollars in debt. Maybe they have been trying to.
Yeah. We can't actually create this element on Earth. So they were like, okay, well, what can we replicate it with? Mm-hmm. What can we make that'll kind of have the same effect? So Bob stated that it was a futile attempt, simply impossible due to how radioactive it is and the fact that its lifespan is approximately 220 milliseconds.
Jesus.
Here on Earth.
You're like, I made it. It's dead.
Yeah, literally. So who's to say that this element doesn't react differently elsewhere on the planet, but here on Earth, it was just like, did not function properly. So just a quick little science thing. Sorry to bore you, but so the elements are substances that make up matter. Mm-hmm. And you and I are made up of matter, which is essentially anything that occupies space and has mass. So like Izzy is matter. You matter. Yeah.
Easy matters.
The stuff of so it's like the stuff the universe is made of. So for instance, 99% of our human body is made up of these elements: hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphor. And how gravity is tossed into the mix of this is that gravity is the attraction of all things that hold mass or energy. So like us here on Earth, gravity gives weight to physical objects. And it's not necessarily a force, but more so a consequence of Earth spinning on its axis, drawing us closer to the center. So since elements, like all those things, make up matter, it's all reactive to the pull of gravitational force. So the reason why I'm getting all nerdy on you and telling you all this stuff is just to create context for why my description of this craft is going to be mind-blowing.
Okay.
So
really hyped up this craft.
Yes. So all of these elements cannot be duplicated here on Earth, and they could be a complication of the elements already in existence here in combination with our matter and gravity, etc. Uh-huh. So like, I don't know if it's just that element 15 doesn't function here because it might not be reactive to gravity. I don't know. It's just like, it just doesn't fit. Doesn't work.
Okay.
So the propulsion of any craft throws something out the back of it, right? So like, either high-speed exhaust or large volume of air. So like when you look at an aircraft, there's jets that are just pushing air behind it to push the craft forward.
Right.
That's how propulsion works. The craft that they were researching was a reactionless craft. So it's like a field propulsion craft, which means that it creates a distortion in space and time in front of it where space literally bends. So a good example of this is, okay, so take a bowling ball. Mm-hmm. If you were to put a bowling ball on a mattress, and then put a fist into the mattress next to the bowling ball would like roll into the space, right? So that's what the craft was basically mimicking, is that. So your fist is the space around it, and the bowling ball is the craft. So the bowling ball would be pulled into the space that it wants to go in, right? So it's just like being like dragged into these spaces. Yeah, so the craft distorts space in front of it, and the craft moves into that distorted space. Element 115 produces its own gravitational energy. So offsite, it was referred to as LA 1000, and it was coded as advanced armor to deflect weird questions when taken into outside labs. So if they were like transporting element 15, they were like, oh, it's just this advanced armor, like that's what it's coded as, so nobody could ask questions or like wonder what the hell this element is. So the craft that Bob was working on had 2 levels inside of it. One level was deemed like the cockpit and had 2 small seats in the front that were not sized like for adults. Like only children could fit into these seats.
All right. Weird flex, but okay.
So, which kind of begs the question of like, were the entities driving these crafts smaller than your average human.
Okay.
So like maybe like
and we're telling me aliens. I'm like I've been like scared of aliens this whole time and they're like 2-year-old size?
Yeah, like the probably the size of like a 8-year-old.
I could like bunt them?
Right.
Okay.
Like he said that like adults could not fit in the seats because they were so small.
Yeah.
So he had also been like briefed with documents before he started work there, and he said that the documents stated that aliens had been involved in human affairs for over 10,000 years. Another shocking reveal that he gave during a recent interview with Joe Rogan, who we can get into. I don't like him, but which was like the first one he's done in like 30 years.
Yeah.
Is that if you stood directly underneath the craft, it disappeared.
What?
The human eye was unable to recognize its shape due to a complex manipulation of light, which is honestly, apparently, like a thing that we can recreate here on Earth. That's what like illusionists use and all this stuff is it's like a light trick.
So Chris Angel made this craft disappear?
Maybe.
Yeah,
when I was talking about these documents that he was given before starting work at S4, in the documents he was given, it identified the supposed binary star system, which was considered the origin of the saucers, and it's called Zeta Reticuli, which is approximately 39.3 light years from Earth. You were so bored.
Huh?
You were so bored.
No, I just don't speak science, so I'm understanding like every other, not even, that's being generous. Like every sixth word you're saying, most of them are just adjectives.
I'm going to get into more nitty gritty stuff. I just needed to backdrop it.
Go ahead. The other people will understand. This is like, you might as well be speaking Charlie Brown language. I don't understand what you're saying.
So, Bob had described this sort of hand scanner that they had to use when arriving at Area 51, essentially. Right. So it kind of looked like this thing that had like 5 wires hanging out of it, and it looked like a box with just these like 5 like antennas almost hanging out of it. And you had to put your fingers, like push the antennas down with your fingers, and it measures the bone density of your hand.
Damn.
And that's how you got access, because
Gattaca stuff.
Yeah, that's like unique to you.
Okay.
And only you. Another crazy thing
bone density.
Yeah.
Sure.
Another crazy thing that he talked about was that like his hours were not scheduled.
Uh-huh.
So he would get a call at like 11 p.m. and be like, you need to be at X airport at 11:45 p.m. And get on the plane. And basically they were not allowed to drive to Area 51. They're always taken by plane.
So crazy.
So he couldn't drive there. He couldn't like park there, like go to work like a normal person. Like he had to fly in.
Yeah.
He knew where it was. It wasn't a secret, but
everybody knows where it is.
Yeah, he couldn't like drive himself to work.
No, they don't let anybody roll up. They literally have like guns pointed at you at all times.
Yeah, it's intense. So nobody believed him when he talked about this scanner in 1989. Absolutely nobody believed him.
In 1989, that shit was so sophisticated.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, everything he said, everybody was like, this guy's a crazy person.
They don't have like cell phones. They're not going to understand that.
He's insane. And then in 2018, there were like other projects that were revealed, like other like secret projects within the government had been revealed to have used the same hand scanner. Mm-hmm. And I watched this documentary that's like the Bob Lazar documentary. If people know who Bob Lazar is, they probably watch this documentary. But in the documentary was the first, like the documentarian, the filmmaker was like, by the way, I found a picture of that hand scanner you were telling me about. Do you want me to show it to you? And he's like, no way. And he was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to see if that's the same thing that I experienced. And he showed it to him and Bob like lost it. He was like, oh my God.
It was?
He's like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you had a picture of this. I've been trying to find pictures of this for years because like, I didn't want people to like think I was crazy. And he was like, how does it make you feel to see this picture? And he's like, it's honestly really validating.
Yeah.
And it was like a really genuine reaction. And like, before I get really into all this, I feel like there's a lot of skeptics. I just want to kind of make a point to say that a lot of people think that Bob Lazar is a crazy man. And like, there's like a conspiracy theorist and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He has been validated several times, and I'll get through how he's been validated. Also has never, ever, ever accepted monetary
Right. Money, and you're making sense.
He's never accepted money for any interviews he's done or anything like that. I think he said that one time he was paid, but he donated all of his earnings to like a science project for like schools, like to bring science to schools.
Yeah.
He also he did a bunch of interviews in the late 80s, and then literally fell off the face of the earth for 30 years because he was
traumatized.
Yeah, by like the reaction.
Yeah.
That he got, and he was like, nobody else came forward. He's like, which I'm kind of not surprised about.
Yeah.
Judging by how the media and the world reacted to him.
I'm surprised that he wasn't made to like sign a lifelong
he
NDA
was
type of thing.
He did.
Okay.
I don't know if it was an NDA, but he was basically like, he couldn't tell his wife what he did it was basically like CIA.
Right.
Like he wasn't allowed to tell anybody.
He's a florist.
Yeah, what he did for a living. So he got fired, and after he got fired, that's when he came out about what happened.
Yeah.
And the reason why he got fired was, so this is not why he got fired, but his phones were tapped. And he was fully aware that his phones were tapped. It was like part of his contract. He was like, yes, I understand. Like my phones need to be tapped because I have very secretive knowledge.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. Fine. And it got to a point where he felt like everybody was kind of like, where's Bob? Why is Bob like doing all these things? And he was just like, you know what? I'm kind of sick of like living this secret life. And he's like, I'm just going to tell a handful of my friends what I'm doing. And if they don't believe me, I'm going to drive them out to Area 51 and show them on the testing day. Here's the look up in the sky. You'll see the crafts that they're testing right now. So like every Wednesday night was like their testing night.
Yeah.
So he like snuck them out into the middle of the desert and like showed his friends. Apparently there's a video on the internet, which I haven't watched yet, but I just heard about when I was like pulling up home today.
Testing.
That Bob Lazar took with his friends of the testing of, and mind you, like Bob Lazar was in his like mid-20s. So he was like a kid, like, and this is like, and he was like a geek. He's like a engineer geek who just like loved aircrafts. And he was like, look at this. Isn't this insane? Like I'm working on something hands down, probably the most historic moment in human life that is a secret. Like that's what blows my mind. We have discovered life outside of Earth and nobody's talking about it.
I don't get it.
Anyway, that was a purposeful sidebar.
Okay.
Relative to the story
got
sidebar.
It.
And then he got fired because he got caught bringing his friends to Area 51. Go figure.
Make more noise.
Izzy, stop. You're being aggressive. And so he got caught and he got fired because obviously he was breaching security.
Right.
And when he got fired, they read him transcripts of some of the phone calls that they were monitoring to let him know that his wife was having an affair. Isn't that terrible?
Oh my God.
You're fired. You're fired. And by the way, your wife is cheating on you. See you later. No wonder he went to the media.
Yeah, I'd go to the media too. They're literally like, you have no job. Also, you have no wife.
Yeah, but they were like, also, like, you're fired. Also, your life is threatened. Because if you speak out about this, you're dead. And he was like, so he came out like in person as like insurance. So like he started
if I
off,
die, then you know who did it. Type of thing.
He started off as like Dennis or whatever, the shadowy figure, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm getting death threats. I better come out as like Bob, as myself." Anyway, so Bob got his degree in physics. I've heard two different stories. I've heard he got his degree from MIT and Caltech. I also have heard Harvard.
Okay.
So the reason why I say I've heard and not there's no proof of this.
Yeah.
All of those schools claimed to have never had such a person enrolled at their school. He also said that he worked as a physicist for Los Alamos National Lab prior to S41.
Okay.
The lab claims to never have records of having a Bob Lazar work for them. However, when you look through their previous phone books, which can't be replicated or can't be changed, Robert Lazar is listed as a former employee. There's also a Los Alamos local newspaper featuring Bob, and his passion for building jets. And he is listed as an employee of Los Alamos National Lab.
Okay.
So his prior employment and his schools have like unclaimed him and basically erased the fact that he existed there at all.
Yeah.
Lazar claims that perhaps these records were wiped in order to discredit his claims. But bizarrely, his birth certificate was also destroyed. there's like no proof of his existence.
Okay.
And he's like,
It's like my grandpa.
I think it kind of further Wait, your grandpa doesn't have a birth certificate?
All the proof of his existence was burned. There's no baby pictures. There's no birth certificate. There's nothing. My mom's dead. That's why he doesn't know what order his name is. He doesn't know if his name is Virgil Dennis or Dennis Virgil. He has no idea.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we just guessed. When it came time to do his tombstone, we were literally like, oh God.
Wait, so does he say why it was burned? He doesn't.
His house burned down.
Oh, so it burnt down with his house?
He was like 3 or so. So yeah.
Oh,
there's no pictures of him as a baby. There's no birth certificate. There's no proof what his name is. So he doesn't know.
That's crazy. Do you know where he was born?
He was born in Alabama. I don't know exactly where in Alabama.
I wonder if you can find the hospital he was born at and see if they can give you a birth certificate there. So that's kind of a weird. So that's what a lot of people use to discredit Bob Lazar and say like, well, he never went to MIT and Caltech. He's lying about his history. Mm-hmm. And there have also been witnesses that have said, no, I went to school with him. I used to drop him off at school, or I used to drive him, or I used to pick him up from school, or like. Okay. So there's like plenty of witnesses. And there was also a time where he went to Los Alamos, the lab at Los Alamos that he worked at. Yeah. He brought somebody with him, and he was like waving to employees, and they were like, hey, Bob, like people knew him. So they got men in black. They literally men in blacked him without taking his memory. They just erased him as an existing member of their community. I mean, you can do that. Yeah. So Bob describes a time, this was like in the late 80s, he described this time, where he was walking down one of the hallways at S4, and there were double doors that led to one of the hangars that had like the head level windows, like the Michael Myers windows, like my basement has. Mm-hmm. That's what we call them, the Michael Myers windows, and only people who have seen Halloween H2O would know what we're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. And like as he was walking past them, he like looked inside like real quick. Mm-hmm. Or are they like, and they had like wires in them, like, you know what I mean? Like those windows that have like crisscross wires, like it's like protective. So it's like kind of like hard to really see through them. Yeah. But like in the late 80s, he stated something about like looking in the windows and seeing two people in lab coats talking to a small figure. Okay. Just a small figure? Like a small figure that was not human-like. Later on, he kind of recanted this statement and was like, I think they were looking at a doll and talking to a doll. Like talking, not to a doll, but like about like a doll. Like they were like, I think they like had a doll that they created to see if it could fit in the craft. Oh, okay. Like a fake like alien, if you will. Yeah, I was like, or maybe they like animated what they thought an alien would look like. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he says he doesn't think he saw an alien, but he's convinced now that the guys had a doll and the small chair replicating the size or idea of what an alien would have looked like for measuring purposes. Okay. He also says, through laughter, that he never ever saw any aliens wandering around or live aliens in general, but he does recall them having a nickname for the aliens and that they were referred to as the kids. There was another thing that in the documentation that he had, he talked about how there was like alien cadavers. Not that I don't know. Aliens. Yeah, I don't know that he saw them or that he just like saw them in like the text that he was reading. Okay. So when he says I never saw any live aliens, I think that's very interesting. His phrasing is very particular, but he like won't go into it. Another thing he did is he underwent hypnosis to try and recall information that he had learned while at Area 51 that he may have forgotten. Okay. When he came out of hypnosis, he like started drawing like kind of manically. Okay. And he drew exactly what the craft looked like. He recalled a lot of things that he had been dissecting within the craft. And like, I don't know if people know this, but like hypnosis is used as a form of like, memory retrieval. Mm-hmm. So he had like information lodged deep within his brain. And then he went through 4 polygraph tests and passed them all because people were like, this guy's lying. Yeah. Pass the vibe check. Others have come forward. They said that they worked for Area 51, but none more credible than Paul Hellyer, who was a Canadian defense minister between 1963 and 1967. During his time in office, he was shown proof of alien existence and that many are visiting Earth on a regular basis. He claimed that a Canadian official was brought to Area 51 and given a tour of the UFO wreckage that they have on site and was given protocol on what to do if a UFO lands on Canadian soil. So, like, it's said that politicians are prepped.
Sure.
Crazy.
Sure, why not? Well, hello, Mr. President. It's your first day in office. We're going to prep you on some aliens.
So, I'm sure many of you are aware there was a 60-minute special that came out recently after the Pentagon videos were leaked.
Oh, they've, like, just flat out been like, yeah.
Yep.
Aliens exist, UFOs exist, and people are just like,
meh. So I watched the special, of course. And some of the things that I learned were, so ATIP is a $22 million program sponsored by former Senator Harry Reid to investigate UFOs, or as they call them, UAPs, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. So here's the thing I will say. They don't actually say that they're alien, like creepy green alien spacecrafts. They're just like, they're unidentified, like flying objects. Like we don't know what they are, but because they still have to investigate it.
Okay.
There's no confirmation of what it is, but they're like, we know it doesn't belong here. So like, that's where they're confused. So some of the things that they have released is that these crafts fly at 13,000 miles per hour.
Jesus.
They can evade radar. They can fly through air, water, and space, of course.
Yeah.
It has no obvious signs of propulsion or wings, for that matter. No control surfaces, and yet can still defy the effects of Earth's gravity with unlimited loiter time, which is just not invented. That's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. Loiter time?
Yeah, like it can't
it can't like hover.
No,
no.
It has unlimited loiter time.
Oh, it can hover
it can hover
forever.
Yeah,
got it.
Which is just not possible here.
Yeah.
Our fastest aircrafts fly between 1,500 to 2,000 miles. So compare that to 13,000 miles per hour.
Jesus Christ.
Our fastest.
Can we get that here? Because, I'm trying...
Well, that's why they're trying to, investigate them, because they're like, how do we replicate this technology? Because this would change our lives.
Yeah. I'm trying to go to faraway places, but not spend 20 hours on a plane.
Yeah. Sorry, this is long, but, which is why, my thinking is why it's kept secret is because if we knew all of this and we had all of this information, it would literally change everything. It would change the economy. It would change the way that we approach technology. It would change everything.
Yeah.
And we all know that the economy is a very delicate and sensitive subject. And they're like, no, we're not going to fuss with that. So we're going to leave that alone. We're going to keep that a secret because that's going to create havoc and that's going to create too much change. And all of our businesses are going to die because nothing is better than this.
Yeah.
So can't have a monopoly. So 2 Navy pilots describe an object that they call the Tic Tac.
Not to be confused with TikTok.
Tic Tac, because it's shaped like a Tic Tac.
Got it.
They said that it zipped all over the place in front of them. There were 4 people in the plane, and they tracked the object for 5 minutes before it disappeared.
Okay.
They were able to catch it on radar later to prove what they all saw. All pilots. Let me start over.
Yep.
All pilots are now required to report all unexplained sightings to the Navy.
Okay.
So before, it was kind of like a ridiculed thing. Like, you said you saw something weird, and they're like, oh, yeah, you saw a UFO. Yeah, right. And then now it's like, no, you have to tell us if you've seen anything. So one of the things Bob Lazar said was that the crafts fly belly first. So, belly up. Whatever direction they're going in, it's belly first.
Oh, so if a plane was vertical.
Yeah.
Weird.
And it's just I'm going this way. And it just moves in the direction it needs to go belly first.
Okay.
Which was kind of a weird thing that he said.
Yeah.
So if you watch the leaked videos from the Pentagon, the craft does exactly that, where it seems to be flipping in weird directions and flying belly up. So another thing that validated Bob Lazar. Not like what we've seen in sci-fi movies where it sort of just looks like a rimmed top hat.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's like a literal saucer.
Yeah, like a literal saucer. That's not how it flies.
Okay.
It doesn't hover that way. It it like moves belly up. So
Interesting.
they think that the thing that I was explaining, like the element 115 or whatever, that like projects
comes
the
out
weird like space distortion thing.
Yeah.
That comes out at the bottom of the craft. So it like finagles space and time that way.
Got it.
Former Pentagon intelligence officer Lou Elizondo, he was in charge of ATIP, which is the secret Pentagon study that I just mentioned. He stated that one goal of the project was to determine the physics of UFOs, how they can achieve the seemingly impossible. The military came to believe the craft relied on special metamaterials, stuff that can't be made with known technology, perhaps an element such as element 115.
Yeah.
So it's like all of this stuff that just came out just this year.
Yeah. Just backs up what he said.
Backing up Bob Lazar.
Right.
So like after like however many 30 plus years of people thinking he's a crazy person, he is being validated.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. He's been raided by the FBI twice.
Of course he has. I'm surprised just twice.
Yeah, there's been no public reason as to why. But it is believed, this is not an accusation, this is just a theory. It's believed that Bob Lazar left Area 51 with a small amount of element 51 or element 115. And that is why he's being raided, because they're trying to find it, because it is very dangerous to have. But because he's so obsessed with the science of this all, maybe it makes sense that he would have left with it, or that they assume he's left with it. Because every time the FBI shows up at his house, they leave empty-handed.
Right.
They don't like leave with anything. Right. So they haven't found whatever it is that they're looking for.
Sure, whatever it is, he would probably has like some crazy way to hide it.
Probably.
Yeah.
So like my biggest question with all of this, and I actually wrote this question down because I'm obsessed with this question, is why is the government hiding the single most biggest discovery in human history?
I don't know.
Like this just blows my mind because it's valid. It's true. Like there's no part of me that doesn't believe any of this.
Right.
Like, it has been validated now by
numerous places.
Yeah. There's so much more that I mean, I've already talked for 40 minutes. So it's like, there's so much more. There's so much more. And I was like, I can't fit all of this in, but like, I'll just focus on Bob Lazar. Yeah. Because he's a really interesting character. And if you watch the documentary, like, he's not a crazy person. Right. He's literally just a scientist. Right. And he talks.
Scientists come across like crazy people sometimes because they're just very passionate.
Yeah. But he doesn't he's like boring. He's like, he's like just like a little like old guy who's just like, yeah, like I used to work for the government and they like screwed me over. And so I thought this was important. He literally came out because he was like, this is the biggest discovery in human history. And I don't think it should be kept quiet. Right. That was his purpose for coming out. He was like, this is stupid.
I think it's partially like people just can't handle it. It's like a little bit just like self-preservation. Right. It's too much.
When you also think about, like, if it's true that Earth has been in communication with aliens for 10,000 years, or whatever it is that he had read in the document, and in that time there has been no hostility. Yeah. My theory is, what would make that happen now? Right. If it hasn't happened in 10,000 years.
I mean, maybe there's no hostility because it's being kept such a secret. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's the agreement.
They don't want it to be public knowledge.
They don't want to be known. They don't want... Yeah. Them to know all their secrets, where they are, how to find them, because they know like assholes on this earth would try and find them and dissect them and make them into a lab experiment. Right. So maybe it's this agreement.
Could be, and it's like a protection.
We don't talk about you. You don't talk about us. Yeah. We won't invade you. You leave us alone.
Right, and to think that like
treaty, if you will.
The idea is that they exist 39 light years away. Yeah. Like if we are not capable of flying in light years. Right. But if we were capable, it would be possible to get there. But, you know, it's crazy to think of something like that. Like, oh, if it was possible to fly in light years, if we were to be able to get a craft like that working, and who knows what technology has changed since 1989, or like what they have discovered since 1989, since Bob Lazar. Yeah. And Bob Lazar has talked about that. He's like, the technology that I was using has obviously advanced. Right. And he was like, sometimes I regret being an idiot and like getting fired from there because I just want to know.
Yeah, what's going on. Yeah. And I'm sure the curiosity. Yeah. You just can't get over that.
There was also something that came out that he had like a security clearance check. Like there was like somebody who came to his home and like checked on things. and that was validated. That person was like, yeah, I met Bob Lazar. I know who Bob Lazar is. Yes, I did a security check at his house.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. There's also like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
There's like tons of projects like that were like government projects that explored UFOs, if you will, but that were like, oh, we're just looking at spy crafts.
Right.
I mean, maybe some were.
Yeah.
But maybe some weren't.
Right.
Project Blue Book is a big one.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that one. I know what that one is.
But I think previously said one of these days I'm going to cover Bob Lazar. And I was like, I have 2 weeks to do research. Yeah. I'm going to cover Bob Lazar. Yeah. Because holy crap. So I have a lot of sources. Wikipedia for all the science stuff. Yeah. Because some of that I have in my brain, some of that I don't. The documentary that I talked about, Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Another documentary called Area 51, Aliens, UFOs, Bob Lazar, and Advanced Technology. The 60 Minutes episode called Facial Recognition, UAP, and Rafa. They talked about other things that I skipped over. A digital spy article called Area 51, Details Left Out of Netflix Bob Lazar documentary by Dan Seddon, I don't know. I listened to 2 podcasts about Bob Lazar. One called Things I Learned Last Night. And like I said, I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience when he interviewed Bob Lazar.
I'm so sorry that you had to listen to that.
Bob,
he's the worst.
Joe Rogan is the worst. Can we just say it? So Joe Rogan is transphobic and very sexist.
Extremely.
And he claims that he's like super liberal and super left, but like also...
But then says the most...
Problematic,
terrible
things.
Conservative.
Yeah.
Misogynistic garbage.
Yeah.
I know.
But his interview was really interesting, mostly because it was the first interview Bob Lazar has done in 30 years.
I mean, side note again about Joe Rogan. I think that's the thing that's so enraging about Joe Rogan is that he's clearly an intelligent person capable of very intelligent conversation. Yeah. And so he's choosing to be that.
Oh, yeah. He likes to stir the pot.
Problematic. He's that kind of comic that thinks like as people are too sensitive and he's really funny. Yeah. He's not funny.
As non-professional podcasters with a non-professional opinion, we do not condone Joe Rogan or recommend listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. However...
She did this to listen to Bob.
I wanted to hear Bob Lazar's first interview in 30 years.
I know. My brother tried to get me to watch Joe Rogan while he was here, and we were like, I don't know, 30 minutes in, and I hadn't laughed once and looked like a smacked ass. And I went, I'm sorry, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
No.
This person that he was talking to identified as non-binary, they, them, and he was talking about the fact that they were non-binary and calling them he, him, dude over and over and over again. I was like, he's doing this on purpose. He's rude and he's not funny and I don't get it. And my brother thought that was really funny that I was like...
mad,
losing my mind over how much I hate Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some scandals with Bob Lazar. Like, apparently he funded a sex ring.
Oh, go on, Joe. Not Joe.
I don't know. I actually tried Googling it, and it was like not really Googleable.
Might have been like
it might have been like wiped away. So I don't really. I'm not.
You don't know what's true and what's not.
I really have a word on it, but from what it sounds like there was a woman who wanted to start a sex work ring. I don't know. Yeah. Not like not like a
madam.
Yeah, like she wanted to be a madam, and he like funded her.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is like fine.
That's fine.
I don't think that's scandalous.
There's nothing wrong with sex work.
No, but
it's fine.
So, but it was not legal. So
I mean,
he got in trouble, and one of the things that they talked about was like in court, he could have used that as an opportunity to be like, I'm not the crazy whistleblower guy.
Yeah.
Don't put me like don't get me in trouble.
Yeah.
Because like he could have just used that as an opportunity to be like, okay, like.
Right.
For real, though, I'm not the crazy alien guy, I promise. But he never did.
Right.
So he's like, no, like, I was always telling the truth. Like, there's no reason why I would have used that to, like, get out of jail time or whatever. Right. I think he did, like, 5 years probation or something like that for that. But,
okay.
It's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Just because some people are
not going to sweep under the rug. Some people would have a problem with that.
Yeah. But
if Bob wants to fund a cat house...
You know what? Go on, Bob.
Go on, Bob. As long as everybody there is there on their own free will and can leave whenever they want.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Bob Lazar is a hero and he's an American hero. But I think Bob Lazar...
is very interesting.
Is very interesting. Yeah. And I think, in a way, I think if it wouldn't have been him, it would have been somebody else.
Sure.
But I think because it was him and because he had the repercussions that he had after he came out,
Nobody else is going to.
nobody else did. There was like
Right.
some people that did, but
Right.
not as profound and as informative as Bob Lazar.
Got it. I have to say, I love and adore how passionate you are about aliens and UFOs, and I apologize that it just doesn't land with me.
Oh my
I feel
God.
bad when you get super passionate and excited and I don't get it.
I know.
It's not a lack of interest, it's a lack of, my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but you love history. So like this to me was like,
no, the
oh.
history aspect I got, but the science stuff I didn't get.
Yeah, I was just, well, the science stuff is like, honestly, it's just like exposition.
Yeah.
I don't even understand it fully,
Yeah.
but it's just like, okay, like I'm going to use the word element.
Yeah.
I kind of want people to know what I'm saying.
Right.
Or, I'm going to talk about gravity and how
Right.
this thing bends gravity. I need people to understand how crazy that is. That's not possible on Earth because of theory of relativity and how the Earth fucking spins on an axis.
Right.
And that brings everything, gravity holds everything down so that we're not all spinning like crazy people all the time.
No matter what I do, my brain just can't. It just can't.
You know what? I can't lie and say like I also feel the same way where it's really hard for me to wrap my brain around.
But when you're interested in the subject,
I start to kind of like, well, I also watch a lot of like, so this is just a sidetrack. Like I'm researching the theory of like space and time in general for something I'm writing. And I read this like really complicated book that I totally did not understand about parallel universes. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos that were like for dummies.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped like wrap my brain around it. Cause I was like, oh, like.
Yeah, I need like everything explained to me for dummies. And then I get it.
I didn't retain anything in high school.
No.
That I was taught about science or math or any of that stuff.
No. I'm currently taking classes and I'm not retaining anything.
But I didn't retain
So I have very little hope for this career path because I have not retained anything. But we'll see.
I think we both have ADD.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
No, yeah.
I'm not saying that like, oh, LOL, we've got
like,
ADD.
I try very, 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 very hard. Like, I was like, look her in the eyes. Focus on what she's saying. And my brain still is like, la, 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 la. Like, just drifts. I can't help it. I hate it.
No, I know. I'm also very OCD. So, like.
Every detail.
I need every detail. And I need, like, I have not been diagnosed OCD, but I fall under a lot of the symptoms of OCD.
For sure. It's not severe, but
no,
it's present.
Not debilitating.
No.
I would love to talk to a therapist about it and see if they agree, but kind of more like a self-diagnosis.
Right.
Of ADD and OCD.
For sure. ADD, yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So many tangents.
Something that a lot of people don't know, this is like tangent, but like OCD, like something that happens a lot with people who have OCD is intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
And all day long.
Yeah, they're obsessive thoughts.
All day long I have obsessive intrusive thoughts.
And if you don't take care of it, then no.
Yeah, and it's less about actions. Like sometimes it's like about like things that I would never be interested in doing or want to do or anything like that. I just have like these intrusive thoughts constantly. Like I think you and I have talked about this, and this is going to sound very jarring, and I promise you we would never, ever, ever, ever do this.
What?
But, like, sometimes there's, like, a temptation to, like, turn the wheel into the other side of the road.
Right.
That's an intrusive thought.
Right. We will boldly say neither one of us are suicidal. It's not a suicidal thought, but it's just that every time you're driving, and there's, like, a meridian, there's a cliff, there's something.
I don't know what it is.
Every day when I drive home from work on Coldwater, I always imagine turning the wheel and going off the canyon. It's a terrifying thought to me. It's not something that I want to do in any way, shape, or form. But it's a thought that I cannot stop myself from having every time I do it.
You might have it too, but it's like, that's what an intrusive thought is. Yeah. Or like just something really inappropriate. Right. That's an intrusive thought.
Oh, yeah. Inappropriate all the time.
Constantly. So, I don't know. Anyway.
Interesting. Okay.
If there's any therapists out there, let me know.
What's wrong with us?
What's wrong? Okay. That was long.
That was aliens. Yeah. Mine's not relatively short, so
here we go.
We'll get through it.
You know what? You guys get a 2-week break, and then you just get a lot of content.
It's okay. It's okay. Tanya assigned cults to me, and I went a little willy-nilly with that.
I like Willy.
And by willy-nilly, I mean we're going to talk about Lululemon today.
Oh, God. The cult of Lululemon?
The cult of Lululemon.
At least you didn't say Jeeps.
No, I didn't say Jeeps. No. We're going to talk about Lululemon Athletica.
It's like a fake cult, but also kind of a cult.
I don't even know if it's
I guess
fake.
you're going to teach me.
Yeah. I was like, I know it's not what comes to mind when people think cults, but it has a very dark history and behind the scenes culture that also includes murder.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in my headphone. Oh, God.
Oh, God, panic. Okay. So I know that this will probably piss off some Lulu devotees. We know a few of them. We know people who work for the company, who have worked for the company.
Oops.
Do you know? Shop wherever you want, work wherever you want. But I believe in knowing about the brand you're buying from or working for. And just hate to break it to these people, but Lululemon is kind of batshit crazy.
Yeah.
The turnover for Lululemon is one of the highest in the country due to the bizarre work culture.
Interesting.
Yes. So, for one, salespeople are not salespeople. They're educators.
That's what they're called.
Yes. They constantly tell their employees they're not selling anything. Their job is to educate people on the technical features and functions of the garments and empower the guests to make their own choices. This make their own choices thing is very prominent in the Lululemon culture while they are brainwashing you to not make your own choices.
Oh, God.
A lot of people quit after the first couple weeks. It's a company that really purports to be about their people, so you'd think they'd examine this more, especially since their 10-year goal is, quote, getting our global collective scores within the top quartile of happiest people on the planet. Sounds culty. Mm. The employee regulations book is called Pramana.
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Which is a word that roughly translates to knowledge in Sanskrit. Ironically, Pramana really means true knowledge you gain from experience, not just what people tell you. You know,
okay.
The theft guide is called Asteya.
The theft guide?
Yep, which means non-stealing. An ethical guideline from, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
So, what is it called? Asteya?
Asteya.
Asteya?
Asteya.
So I was like, Esti.
No, Asteya.
Esti.
No.
Esti is a bad word in French.
They co-opt something from yoga and warp it basically until it loses all its meaning. That's what they love to do.
Yeah.
So there's a constant emphasis on goodness and yoga values.
Oh.
You get constant feedback and coaching, which means that you're scrutinized from the moment you walk in the door till the moment you leave. If you're in a bad mood when you walk in, you have to do a, quote, clearing, which is the neo-spiritual way of making you say whatever is going on in your life, and then someone coaches you on how to get over it. So you're just not allowed to be in a bad mood, or you have to go through a clearing.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. A former employee recalls, I think it's Anne, maybe Aunt, I don't know, A-Y-N, Anne?
A-Y-N?
A-Y-N.
Ain?
I
don't know.
I'm going to say Ayn Rand's books are in their core library, and you can't escape that pull yourself up by your bootstraps mindset. When a customer comes in and is rude to you, it's your choice to be offended. It's you not taking personal responsibility for the situation. If you point out something wrong or unethical, it's labeled as your choice to complain. One of my managers told me she had a conversation with the former founder, Chip Wilson. It's another bag of crap. Where he talked about how he didn't believe in public assistance or welfare, that people who were entrepreneurial would survive and be successful. He basically thinks people who need public assistance and welfare made that choice. So they don't believe in explicit advertisement. So instead, they require their employees to be, quote, in the community while wearing Lululemon. So it's like subliminal messaging.
Oh, boy.
Meaning they have to take classes at least twice a week while wearing Lulu. They can't order the employees to do it, but you can't move up in the company unless you do. So you don't get paid for this, but it is something you have to do during your off hours. The former employee recalls, when an educator I knew broke her ribs at a boot camp class she was attending for the store, she was not allowed to work, was denied workers' comp and disability. She owed thousands in medical bills, but again, it was her choice to be at class, even though the store paid for it and it was implied that she had to go.
Oh no, oh my
Yeah.
God.
In general, educators work more than they're paid for because they're not allowed overtime. Managers often work up to 20 hours a week off the clock. For management, very often at the end of a shift, either you have to go home and get in trouble because you didn't finish, or you clock out and keep working. That's your job description. To be entrepreneurial, which is Lululemon's code for working yourself to the bone without question. They do goal coaching, where they make educators write their goals on the wall and then browbeat them into accomplishing them. Otherwise, they are limiting themselves. Part of their job is, quote, getting related, which requires them to be friends with their coworkers.
Getting related?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call becoming friends with your coworkers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep,
dear.
weird. Lululemon is all about ideals. This is the crazy part.
This is the crazy. This
part.
Just this part.
The man and woman Lululemon designs for and creates marketing for is called their muse. The man is called Duke, and the woman is called Ocean. Anything you do, you appeal to that ideal, imaginary muse. So Ocean makes 6 figures. She doesn't want to have kids. She has a master's degree. Her core workout is yoga, and she also likes running and spinning. Her boyfriend's name is Mountain. I'm not making this up. This is real.
This is what they want you to idealize.
Yes. The whole idea is that your guest is never going to actually be Ocean. It's aspirational. They can try, but they'll never be. And some employees are like other educators were so like brainwashed that they would get put outfits together and be like, would Ocean wear this? This is all for Ocean. So upper level managers all talk in the exact same weird fake Canadian accent for some reason. You don't necessarily need to be thin, but you need to work out constantly. If you don't, you're not a culture fit and you get fired. The company is also extraordinarily white.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be one of the things I said.
Yes.
I was assuming you would say it.
Yes. They have an event called the hashtag Get Quiet, Live Loud. I don't know. It isn't required, but like all things at Lululemon, it's implied that as a manager, you go. They start with meditation. They're told to clear the space, get their mind together. There is a video presentation about, quote, the collective. It's basically celebrating the culture of Lululemon. There is a lot of preaching that they should love Lululemon because it's their family.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only company that cares about the people who work there. The word collective will be used often. So this is just the beginning, not even covering all of their illegal practices. This doesn't even touch on the company's founder, Chip Wilson, who is a raging trash bag. Just a horrible person. Their devotion to Ayn Rand, a Russian philosopher who came up with a system she named objectivism. Their complete aversion to larger bodies.
Yeah.
Or Landmark Forum, the ultra-secretive, eerily cultish educational series.
What?
Which Lululemon employees are strongly encouraged to attend. So before you're in line for Landmark, you're bombarded with Brian Tracy motivational CDs. He's like this crazy motivational speaker. And a book club that culminates with Atlas Shrugged.
What?
Successful Lululemon employees can recite Brian Tracy better than the Pledge of Allegiance. They mention Chip Wilson, and they'll tell you quite seriously that he saved their lives by elevating them to greatness. So that's Lululemon's backstory. Now I'm going to tell you about the Lululemon murder. Do you know anything about this?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. The only thing I knew is that I had heard that the Lululemon community is very bizarre.
It's very bizarre. Very
like culty.
Toxic.
Yeah, like I just heard like, oh, it's very culty, but I took that with like a grain of salt of like culty, like they say like Jeep drivers are culty.
Right. No, like literally.
Yeah.
Like the collective, Ocean, all this other, like it's they're insane.
It's so bizarre.
They're insane. I know this just sounds like a really bad Glassdoor review, but like they're insane. Anyway, okay, so now I'm going to tell you about the murder of Jana Murray.
Yeah.
At the Lululemon Bathsheba, Maryland store.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So on March 12th...
She was murdered at the store. Okay.
At the store.
Oh boy.
On March 12th, 2011, the opening manager would arrive to open the store to find the door was already unlocked. At first, she thought nothing of it, figuring that someone was in trouble for forgetting to lock up the night before. She went further into the store, and that is when she noticed things didn't look right. The store was kind of a mess, so she began to get pretty nervous and exited the store. That day at the Apple store next door, the release of a new iPad was happening, so there was a line to enter the store. One of the men in line noticed the manager and asked her what was wrong. She explained she was afraid someone had broken into her store, and the man offered to come with her to check things out. So back in they went. As they are going deeper into the store, things are looking worse and worse. The cash registers are open, money is missing, but there's also blood and clumps of blonde hair everywhere.
Clumps.
Clumps, like handfuls of blonde hair.
Oh my God.
So he travels further into the back of the store, and that's when he finds Jaina, face down in a thick puddle of her own blood. I mean, like the entire floor is her blood.
Oh.
Not an inch isn't covered in her blood. And she is so badly attacked, he, for one, can't even tell she's a woman or identify her face in any way, shape, or form.
Oh my God.
There's also a heavy toolbox on her back.
To like hold her down,
I guess.
I'm assuming.
I don't know.
God.
I think it was just like dropped on her back. In the bathroom, they find Brittany Norwood. Her wrists and ankles are zip tied, and she has some bruising and blood on her forehead from a hit and superficial slashes all over her arms, legs, and stomach. There's also a hole cut in her and Jaina's yoga pants at the crotch. Brittany is alive.
Okay.
Brittany Norwood would claim that 2 masked robbers came into the store after hours, repeatedly raped her while brutally attacking and ultimately murdering Murray. The truth ended up being something completely different.
Yeah, I was like, I don't buy this.
So Norwood had a history of stealing. The managers at Lulu were well aware of her stealing tendencies and were trying to get her fired. Unfortunately, you need an airtight case to fire someone and avoid a lawsuit, so some of the employees were trying to like set her up to catch her.
Yeah.
Enter Jaina Murray, who caught her trying to steal a pair of yoga pants during a routine bad check on March 11th. Brittany claimed she had bought the yoga pants from another educator. The 2 women left for the night, and Jaina called the woman Brittany claimed to have bought the yoga pants from. She confirmed Brittany did not buy them from her. So Jaina proceeded to alert others that Brittany had officially been caught stealing, and as she was doing this, Brittany called Jaina.
Oh, God.
On that night, Murray was not even scheduled to work. She was covering for another manager. When Brittany called her, she told her she had forgotten her purse in the store and her Metro card was in there, so she had no way of getting home. Could she come back and unlock the store so she could grab it? Jaina agreed because she had left her laptop there as well. So she went back. This was around 10 p.m. on March 11th, 2011. Employees at the neighboring Apple store could hear them fighting around 10:30 p.m.
Oh.
They claimed to hear 2 women screaming, dragging and crashing, as well as one begging for God to help her and saying, "You don't have to do this." What did the Apple employees do when they heard this?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I literally was like,
They
what do you
banged
mean?
on the wall and told them to be quiet. And when they were asked why they didn't call the police, they said they thought it was just a coworker scuffle. So I don't know. I've never gotten in a fight with a coworker that has ended in me going, like, "God, please help me."
Yeah, no.
No. Okay.
No, I would have called somebody.
Yeah. So Brittany's account.
As much as I don't love the idea of calling them.
I know. I hate calling. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I would probably still do that in that case. Yeah.
Brittany's account was that 2 men dressed in all black came into the store. They proceeded to beat and sexually assault the women, and that the only reason Brittany was allowed to live when Jaina had been brutally murdered was that they enjoyed having sex with her more.
Oh, that's great. That's a really, really interesting reason.
Yep. So according to Brittany, they then made her move Jaina's car to a lot 3 blocks away, afraid her car would be towed and they'd be found out. So this is how Brittany explained her and Jaina's blood being in Jaina's car. They then told Brittany she had to come back or they'll find her and kill her. When she returned, they zip-tied her and left her in the bathroom. So to explain how she was zip-tied, it was her ankles and then her wrists together. Mm-hmm. And she was like they were above her head, but there was nothing. She wasn't attached to anything. So there was no reason why they had to be above her head.
She was just holding them above her head.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. While examining the crime scene, the detectives found a men's size 13 shoe that matched a shoe in the store that employees gave to customers to put on while trying on outfits. When they checked the shoe, it was proven that the same bloody sock that they took off of Brittany was the same sock that had been in the size 13 shoe.
She put on.
After some piecing together, this is what really happened on March 11th, 2011. Once back at the store, Brittany confronted Jaina about turning her in for stealing. Now, as you know by now, Lulu is a weird company, and they come down on their educators very harshly when they mess up.
Yeah.
So Brittany, a serial thief, was terrified of the consequences. Jaina, a seasoned manager, refused to back down from reporting Brittany. At this point, Brittany didn't know that Jaina already had.
Oh, no.
So this made Brittany snap. What followed was a 20-minute long, brutal attack where Brittany used a wrench, the sharp side of a hammer, a metal pipe, a heavy Buddha statue, and a knife to inflict more than 331 wounds
Oh, good God.
on Jana Murray. She dragged her by her hair through the store, hence the blonde clumps of hair, to the back room where she inflicted the final fatal wound using a knife to sever her spine at the back of her head.
Oh, God.
Reports would show that 200 of those 331 wounds were on Jana's head and face, and that Jana was alive up until the very last one.
Oh, my God. No, I hate that. Why?
They don't know if she was conscious, but she was alive. She then inexplicably dropped the toolbox she used to find her weapons onto Jana's back and went back into the store to create a crime scene. Walking through blood in the men's size 13 shoes, knocking things over, emptying the cash registers, she moved Jana's car and then sat in it for 90 minutes trying to figure out what to do next. She decided to go back to the store. This is when she cut holes in both her and Jana's pants to look like they had been sexually assaulted, even though both girls were examined afterwards, and there's absolutely zero proof that they were. And Brittany made up this elaborate story that one of them sexually assaulted her with one of the wooden hangers. Like, she went really in. There were teeth marks on the zip ties used on Brittany, which proved she used her teeth to tighten them on herself. And all of her superficial slashes were proven to be self-induced.
Like, how can you be so freaking stupid?
Exactly. It was then she posed with her hands above her head on the bathroom floor and waited for the morning and to be found. Also, like with the robbery thing, the reason it wasn't believable to police and to begin with is because every single thing that they used was inside the store. So every weapon, the zip ties, all of it were things that had come from inside the store. And what robber goes
I'm just going to find
to rob with absolutely no material. Exactly.
Right.
So Brittany Norwood was not believed after careful examination of the evidence and was sentenced to life without parole for first-degree murder. The prosecutors believing that Brittany had every intention of killing Jana when she called her back to the store. The judge for the case said in all his years he had never seen a more horrific attack. I watched her being interrogated, and she's literally sitting in the chair, like sideways with her leg over the thing. And she's talking about being brutally attacked and raped. What? With the most casual body language ever. And then when she realized they weren't really believing her, she started fake crying. And the guy was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to tell me the truth because we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
Nobody believes you. Your brother and sister wouldn't believe you. Your mother wouldn't believe you. Nobody is going to believe you.
Oh my God.
He literally said that to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this have to do with Lululemon's cult-like atmosphere?
Yeah.
A former employee says she wasn't shocked to hear an employee snapped. That while other companies took lunch breaks, Lululemon educators were expected to do sit-ups and headstands, read self-help books from the employee library, and reflect on how to aspire to be like Ocean. That the people who worked there lived to work out and go to work, and that they ate very little to sustain themselves due to the company's history of fat shaming. Their consequences were unethical and harsh. The culture is so toxic that even someone with no criminal history or history of violence, like Brittany Norwood, would be led to brutally murder their coworker.
Right.
So think what you will. Perhaps the work environment had nothing to do with the murder. One thing is for sure, I'm sure that Lulu's Glassdoor ratings are just a mess.
Did you look them up? No.
No, I didn't. But I'm sure that they're a mess. Anyway, my sources.
Yeah.
Our Jezebel.com article called Lululemon Diaries, My Life in an Exploitative Libertarian Happiness Cult by Anonymous. So imagine how crazy they are. She has to be anonymous.
Yeah.
HuffPost article, Lululemon's Cult Culture, Get Fit or Die Trying by Elizabeth Licorice. Washington Post article, The Yoga Store Murder, The Shocking True Account of the Lululemon Athletica Killing by Dan Morse. A Film Daily article, Lululemon, The Horrifying Murders Over a Pair of Leggings by Beck Heim. And then I watched a YouTube video called Lululemon Murder by Eleanor Neal.
Oh, good God.
Yeah.
Okay, that was super interesting, though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Lululemon is crazy.
Cray.
Crazy. And in my experience, when I have talked to Lululemon enthusiasts about it being crazy, they get very defensive and will immediately start talking about how the culture breeds happiness and authenticity and everybody being their best self.
Well, that's what they want.
And I'm like, yeah, you sound like you're backing up what I'm saying. So
I feel like it sounds like that's what they want you to believe.
That's what they want you to believe. Yeah, sure. I mean, Chip Wilson's out. He's no longer the CEO.
Okay.
And apparently the culture has supposedly changed. Former employees beg to differ.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now Chip is kind of like held up as this like figurehead. So, I don't know. Think twice before you spend $100 on a pair of leggings, maybe. I don't know.
I don't have any, so I'm good.
Yeah, I don't get it. There's also been a ton of stuff that's proven like that the stuff that they've claimed, like the kind of fabrics they use and how high tech they are and why they're so expensive has been proven to be false. Like they make all these false claims about the like ethical ways that their fabrics are sourced that have proven to be false. Like it's just, they're full of crap and they charge you up the ass.
Yeah, that sounds on brand.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway.
What's your wonderful?
Love Island is back.
Oh. UK, not US.
Okay.
She watches both. But UK is the superior, US struggles.
UK has always been the superior Love Island. However, I'm probably about the same, like, I'm probably in about the same amount of episodes on each. Like, I think we're on the 4th episode of Love Island UK, and I'm on the 4th episode of Love Island US. Are you more into
the US cast?
The US cast is a lot better. And, like, I don't normally think that. I usually think that the UK cast is a lot better.
Yeah.
But the US cast, like, within, like, episode 3, there was, like, relationships already. And, like, it was intense. And, like, a new guys came in, and it was like, oh, my God. Like, so much drama. And I was like, oh, God. Like, I don't feel that right now. But maybe it's early days. So maybe
early days.
It'll get more exciting.
Maybe.
But I just don't I'm not like attached to any of the characters. Any of the cast quite
the
yet.
Islanders.
Yeah. But I am on Love Island US. So we'll see. But anyway, we're big Love Island fans in this household. So I'm very excited that it's back.
My how wonderful would have to be that we bought tickets for Hollywood Horror Nights.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yes. So we're going to Hollywood Horror Nights at Universal. And their mazes is The Exorcist and House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
And Texas Chainsaw. And I'm excited.
So pumped.
I'm super excited. I'm hoping that there's some other added attractions that are cool too, which I'm sure there will be. But we're doing the VIP Express experience because who waits in lines? Not us.
No, not us.
Not I.
So what's your song of the episode?
I mean, I think it's obvious. I don't know why we didn't talk about it last time, but it's definitely Wild Side.
Didn't we?
Did we not?
I feel like we did.
Did we?
No, because it came out when we were in
Exactly.
Catalina.
Exactly.
It came out after we recorded.
So, Normani featuring Cardi B, Wild Side. Epic.
Fire.
Epic. Absolutely freaking epic.
And I'm obsessed with all the little Wild Side dance challenges that
are
happening.
God, we watch it all the time.
I just I think I can do the dance and I really can't.
There's another one.
Another song?
Yes. The other one would have to be a Brandi Carlile, Right on Time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's Brandi Carlile's voice is A++.
Yeah, she does not play on that song
either.
She
play.
Just goes in.
When she hits that note, oh God. And she hits it at the, almost kind of at the first half of the song. Forget it.
No, mine's so basic and obvious.
What?
Stoned at the Nail Salon by Lorde.
It's a good one.
I love this song. If you haven't listened to it yet, it's really cool. It's like a little Kate Bush.
Stoned at the Nail Salon.
Yeah, it's it's a nice slow song. It's really sad. But it's also just really, it puts you in your feels.
Yeah. I don't skip it.
It's really good.
You know really what excited. I do skip? Sob Rock. Sorry, John Mayer.
Oh, sorry, John Mayer. Although, I'll shout out one of his songs.
Why you no love me?
Oh, not that one. Not that one. Not that one.
Why you no even
We cancel that one.
No.
I think one of the best songs he's ever written is on that album, which is, I guess I just feel like. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that song, but it moves me. I don't know. I just love that song.
Hey, happens.
But yeah, no, it's.
I mean, I don't dislike Sob Rock the way I dislike Born and Raised in Paradise Valley, which are just oh, John Mayer's done, I guess, being good.
Yeah.
you gave up on that. But it's just right above those two
Yeah, that's
in
fair.
terms of order.
Search for Everything was just so good.
Search for Everything was great. Like, for me, it's literally like Continuum.
Yeah.
Search for Everything.
Battle.
No, then for me, Heavier Things, then Battle Studies.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have to go Continuum, Battle Studies, Search for Everything, Heavier Things.
Damn.
But they're all kind of like neck and neck.
Yeah.
Like it's
They're
all kind of like so on top of each other.
Continuum obviously is unbeatable.
Yeah.
We're being so basic. We're rating John Mayer albums right now.
Yeah.
Let's pick our topics.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry to the listeners. Sorry to Jessica Simpson.
I don't know where we left off, so we're just starting with a new pot because we've kind of been all over the place with these episodes, so we're just going to start fresh and clean.
Let's do it.
Fresh pot. I'll let you open yours first in case you need to change it.
No, I'm not changing it.
What are you doing?
Paranormy.
Guess what I'm doing?
What are you doing? True crime?
I sure am.
Woo!
High five.
It's our favies.
Oh, this is going to be a blast.
Yes, another hour and a half episode. We don't know. We'll find out.
Yup.
You know what? I have been having a trouble with music. Like, I haven't been liking any of my playlists. All I do is spend my whole 30 minutes riding to work. Skip.
Oh, dear.
It's very annoying. So I've been listening to like my like favorites playlist and oldie, not even a goodie. That bounce like your ass had the hiccups. Bounce like you was riding in my pickup.
Timbaland.
Bounce
With Justin Timberlake and Missy Elliott.
Why you looking so sad, baby girl? You need to cheer up. Yep.
Missy's in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Missy Elliott. Did I imagine?
Yeah, no, Missy Elliott's in Bounce. And then there's also Carry Out, which is also Take My Order Cause Your Body Like a Carry Out.
Yeah, I like that song.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. Mushy.
Filled with unnecessary Justin Timberlake lyrics.
Oh, another really amazing, wonderful thing that happened that's already happened to you, but now it happened to me, is that Phil Rosenthal liked my tweet.
Oh, yeah, that happened to me, and now it's happened to you. And now we both have a Phil Rosenthal like.
Yes, thank you, Phil Rosenthal. We love you.
We love you.
Okay. Do you want to try it?
Oh, okay. All the places you can find us. Howawful.com. You can find all of
that's wrong.
Howawfulpodcast.com. You can find all the things. Don't trust me with knowledge. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you type in How Awful Podcast, you'll find some transcribed episodes, some not.
Also on Facebook.
Also on Facebook. Yeah, we're there.
Where we have the most followers.
I know. It's concerning. And then patreon.com/howawfulpodcast.
That's correct.
That's where we really want you to go because we put extra goodies up there and it helps us out.
I'm going to put so many Bob Lazar things up there. You won't even know what to do
So
with
many
yourself.
Bob Lazar things.
So if you want all the fun resources that I used to research Bob Lazar and like get real, because I left out a lot and I talked for a long time.
Yeah.
If you want more, just go to patreon.com/howawfulpodcast and be a patron.
Subscribe.
Yeah, become a patron. And
don't forget to subscribe and rate and review us because we literally go nowhere unless you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You can also email us.
They can email us, yes, at howawfulpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We would like for you to do that. Something awful happened to you? Something awful happened in your hometown? Grandma told you an awful story? You've been murdered?
You've been haunted?
You've been haunted?
Those are kind of our favorites.
Those are, the haunted ones are our favorites.
We don't really want to know that you got murdered.
Yeah, we really want you guys to send those in so that maybe we can scrounge up a few for a listener stories episode or something. I don't know.
Also, I would love to hear your opinions on the Bob Lazar thing.
She would. Please.
Genuinely.
Please.
Tell me your thoughts.
Please. Because I didn't have any thoughts. Because I don't get it.
Okay, well, who are you?
I'm B. Who are you?
I'm Ocean.
No.
No, actually, for real, though, I'm Ocean.
No. You're
Moosh, are you Mountain?
Oh, God.
Moosh?
She's going to go sleep with her boyfriend, Mountain.
Mountain Moosh? For real, though.
Don't say you're Ocean again.
I've been Bob Lazar.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Tanya Lee.
Goodbye, B. As always, we've been B and Tanya Lee. Our logo was created by MJ Savard, and our theme music courtesy of Nikki Lou.